Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. And folks, I got an extra special treat for you joining me in the Hit Lab today. And I'm so excited to have this cat joining me in the Hit Lab, folks. Check it out. He spent 3 years as in the SEC as a starter for your Vanderbilt Commodores. This is year 20 that he has been a reality TV personality specifically for things like MTV's The Real World and MTV's The Challenge. And he's a dedicated father to his 2 daughters. He's currently approaching the 12-year mark as the sales and marketing director for Austermiller Roofing Incorporated. Folks, I'm telling you, what a life this dude has lived. Folks, help me welcome the man, the myth, the legend, MJ Garrett. How we doing, baby?
I love it. The myth, the legend. Nick, I'm so happy to be here, man. Like, I absolutely love your show. And more than anything else, I'm getting to talk to another native Nashvillian. That does not happen that often, my friend.
It's the first hit of the day right there. You were right. It does not happen that often. We getting more and more rare. Where are we going?
Dude, I don't know. I'm just thinking about where we started. The fact that we did meet in Bar Nashville that many years ago, and here we are now on a killer podcast talking about life and business. This is great, man.
I'm telling you, man, it's unreal. And like the first question for me is such an important one because it sets the tone for everything else that we're going to do, you know? So, and you and I have something in common because I've said multiple times the decade that it took me to transition from being a baseball player to whatever else I was going to become. It took me a really long time to figure out who in the heck Nick Hyder was off the baseball field, you know? So I know that you have gone from the SEC stage in college sports is the biggest stage on earth.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and you're like part of the 1% as far as like that get to do that, you know? Mm-hmm. So to go from that directly into reality TV for a long time into what you're doing today, it's incredible. Like the first question is, how do you transition from the real world, the TV show, to the real world that we live in today?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many different ways I can answer this question, but I think the biggest thing was the transition from being an SEC athlete and not making it to the next level and trying to find that identity. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, I really wasn't ready for the real world at the time. I had this great education. Mm-hmm. Graduated in 4 years, human and organizational development was my major, did well in school, but all of a sudden, my identity was stripped from me. I was a football player.
Yeah,
that's
baby.
Really why I went to Vanderbilt. I mean, I would have never had the opportunity to go there if it wasn't for being able to catch a football. So trying to transition from that to the working world was very hard. So cut to, I try to get as far away from Nashville, Tennessee as I can. Again, being born and raised here, and moved out to California. Was sleeping on a futon in a buddy's little bitty studio apartment, and really wasn't doing much at all to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And the next thing you know, I go out to a bar one night, maybe the third week I was there, kind of got touched up a little bit, was being introduced to people, telling them that I should be in the NFL. And this guy happened to be a casting director for The Real World. I had no clue. So boom, all of a sudden I've been casted to be on that show. Spent about 4 months living with 7 people from all different walks of life, learned a lot about myself, and then had a career doing the reality stuff for almost, we say 20 years, but before I got really into the business world, I was doing the reality stuff for about 6 years. And then trying to figure out how to pull everything from my college football experience to my reality television experience to business was quite something. And I'm sure we'll get more into that. But the transition from the real world to the real world was a little scary.
Well, I want to give a big shout out to Austermiller Roofing because, you know, our paths are a little bit similar in the fact that, like, I don't know how hireable I was for a long, you know what I'm saying? Like, so kudos to those guys for taking a shot, you know, on somebody, and it's obviously worked out pretty dang well for them.
Well, and I do have to tell you, so whenever I had to go get my first real job was after we had our second daughter, Liv, and it was like, okay, I've got to put this reality stuff behind me. It's a fun life, but it's not very conducive to being home with the kids the way I wanted it. So actually, Austermiller wasn't the first job that I had. The first job I had was with a staffing company. And if anybody has worked for a staffing company before, you know it's all about getting on that vendors list. Okay. But what was really neat and where the transition for me and where I found my niche in business was that people knew me. Okay. Back in the day, being on reality television on The Real World, everybody was watching that.
Oh, yeah.
So in sales, the number one thing you got to do is get past that gatekeeper. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Nick, I was one of the best at it because they would recognize me from being on the show. So they're getting me back there just because they think it's going to be cool that they met this dude from television.
That's right.
And before you know it, I'm sitting there talking with the CEO or the whoever I need to be talking to get that business.
So you mentioned, being in the same room as that casting director. We talk about the power of proximity here all the time. To be a fly on the wall, the old saying, and like there's so much value in that. And teaching, getting, a young person that's wanting to work their way up, them to understand that is a little bit of a challenge. You obviously figured it out at a kind of a young age, and then you figured out how to use your previous success to get in those doors, which provides opportunity, right? I ask the team here all the time, how many awesome people do you occupy a place on their calendar? Like at the end of the day, that's what you want.
That's right.
Right. And you mentioned the gatekeeper. So what were some of the ways in which you used one career to help launch another one?
Okay, so this is what's cool, kind of going back to this first job that I had with a staffing company. Quite possibly the most boring industry to sell in ever. If you're in staffing, I'm sorry I'm saying it, but you know what I'm talking. It's all about cold calling and rejection over and over and over. So what was cool, once they found out that I was able to get past that gatekeeper and get to the decision maker, we're going, what can we pull off of from MJ's past to where we can add value? I'm big on adding value. Whenever I talk business, it's all about what can I do to add value to you, okay?
That's it.
And what we came up with, since I had this public speaking background as well, because that was another thing I did after the show.
Oh, just wait, folks. Buckle up.
Yeah, I traveled the country talking to at almost every college and university you can think of about my experience on the show. So how can we take that into the corporate world and add value to that company, all of the employees inside of that company, to where it's almost like a trade of services.
Right.
You get us on that vendors list, so we have the opportunity to provide staffing for you, and then MJ will come in and talk about passion. He'll get all of your employees riled up. A lot of the companies we focus on were call centers, which those employees in call centers are bored off their butts. A lot of times they lose that passion.
Yeah.
So, man, we absolutely killed it. We're talking about partnering up with Walgreens, Aetna, Dollar General, so many more. I can't even think of it, but it was such a cool thing to see. I was able to pull from the real world to the real world and make money doing it.
That's what I'm talking about. You mentioned, adding value. Okay. So that is like, at the end of the day, people that I want to do business with, they add value to something that we're already doing, right? So first of all, one of the most common questions I get is, Nick, how can I add value to what you're doing? I'm like, well, that's your job to figure out. If I got to figure it out for you, what are we talking about?
Right.
So obviously you've got a gift in doing that. And something that my buddy Bradley always says, he says, dude, money's abundant. It's in everybody else's pockets. You just got to figure out what good or service you want to provide them to get them to give you some, to trade it out, right?
I agree with Brad on that.
Absolutely. So needless to say, dude, you get up, there's an energy about you. You're grateful to wake up every single day. You take on every single day with some optimism and some integrity and some excitement, right? So with 10 years from now, this is a loaded question. You didn't know I'm going here. All right. So 10 years from
now it's getting exciting.
20, I mean, seriously, in 20 years, you go from SEC football to basically, let's just call it Hollywood. All right. And then now you're killing it in something that's considered blue collar.
Yeah.
And you guys have made blue collar kind of sexy. All right. So, and entertaining even. So 10 years from now, where do you see yourself going?
Well, man, I can, right now, we'll get to the 10-year mark, but I think the cool story is kind of how I got from more of a corporate side of business into what's considered blue collar.
Let's go there.
So, I was on the corporate side, suit and tie guy, was making good money.
Did you like the suit and tie?
No.
Me neither.
Not a bit. The man noose that I was wearing right there was suffocating me. And I remember going home and telling my wife, I know we're living a nice house, we're successful, but I'm not happy. I'm not passionate about what I'm doing. I'm speaking about passion to people, but I'm not even speaking to myself about passion. I'm starting to lose it. So I had a buddy who worked for a roofing company, Austermiller, at the time, and he goes, MJ, I'm telling you, the best kept secret in sales is roofing sales. And he peppered me and peppered me and peppered me. I was like, man, I can't do that. I went to Vanderbilt University. How am I going to get into blue collar work? But I finally got to that point. You know what? I'm going to take a leap of faith. And in that first year of being in roofing sales, it was the most money that I'd ever made in my life in sales. Because let me tell you something.
Come on.
You got to have food, water, and shelter to survive. I provide you one of those. And that part of shelter is that roof. If you need a roof, you got to have a roof. So why not buy one from me? And once I was able to figure that out and get over the stereotype of it, of, oh, it's blue collar, people may be looking at me like this, then the rest has been history. And what we're doing now is really, really exciting. We can get more into it, but we are making roofing sexy again. And we're trying to get the youth back into construction because that's something that we have lost a lot of. We're doing a lot of stuff in the community right now. We're building a great team at Austermiller. We're one of the largest roofing companies in the state of Tennessee. And we're doing all this based off the customer's experience when dealing with us. So.
Well, two things. First of all, you guys have the coolest logo. Like, seriously, it reminds me of the Avengers. So
yes,
obviously,
that's exactly what our owner, Penny Austermiller, that's what she says. That's why we have this. She loves the Avengers.
Man, well, it's like it reeks of awesomeness. Like when you just look at it, like it's really captivating logo. And then we got to give a quick little shout out to a young lady that's sitting off camera over here that made all this happen. Right? So would you give her a wonderful shout out and shine some light on her amazing?
Well, no, we have the wonderful Kristen, who has she actually works for Aerolux Media, based out of here in Nashville, and they do a lot of stuff for us out in the community as far as getting our name out there, but also helping us with charities and also stuff like websites, design, and you name it, they can do it. So huge fan of Aerolux. The owner of Aerolux is actually one of my best friends that I've known. He's my oldest friend, Dave Johnson. So you're killing it, Kristen, and I appreciate everything, girl.
I love it. Well, absolutely. And we went to high school together, so it was great to connect and catch up and all those things. So really excited to have you here, girl. All right.
And please, if I'm saying something that I need to stop, you just give me a little knock on the knee, okay? You got to work PR too.
That's right. We got supervision in here today. You know what I'm saying?
And I got a feeling between the two of us, we may need it, my friend.
That's right. That's right. Well, dude, let's go back into the roofing a little bit before we take them back, because again, all the things that you said were just fantastic. Like, it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So go on.
Yeah. So one of our big initiatives right now is trying to change the perception of the roofing industry. There are different types of roofing companies, and there are some companies out there that are considered storm chasers, okay? They're the ones that a big storm will come into Nashville, and then all of a sudden you'll have companies from every state surrounding Nashville coming in, trying to get homeowners to file insurance claims. And a lot of times there can be some shady stuff that goes along with that.
Okay.
They're the ones that are knocking on your door and trying to get you to commit to them. Well, with that comes a negative connotation towards our industry. Like, every roofer is kind of greasy and sleazy.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's just simply not the case. The other thing about our industry is that everybody views each other as being mega competition. There are enough roofs out there for everybody,
no doubt,
for every company. Okay. So why don't we all come together, like, change some of these business practices that we have going on, because we can all get business. Let's help change the way people view our industry, but also do some awesome stuff in the community together as well.
Absolutely.
So when talking about doing stuff in the community, we actually have this awesome deal that's about to happen. Raise the Roof for the community. It's going to be in Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
Love it.
And we're partnering with another very big roofing company out of Mount Juliet that does more of kind of the weather-related work. And then we are partnering with a commercial company that's one of the largest in Nashville. And we're coming together and we're having this competition between all three of us. Okay? And not to mention, we are the official roofing partner for the Nashville Predators.
That's right.
Yeah. The other company is the official roofing partner for the Major League Soccer team here in Nashville.
Yeah.
And the other roofing company is with the Titans. So we're going to have all of those folks involved as well.
You got it surrounded.
Yeah. And whoever wins this competition it goes to the charity of choice. So, yeah, man.
That's fantastic.
And people are going to see us working together, and even our employees getting to intermingle and know each other and learn from each other, add value.
Collaboration.
Yeah, man.
I love it. That's fantastic. I want to thank all of our loyal fans that spread across all 50 states and 14 different countries. It's absolutely amazing. Folks, help us keep spreading the word, right? Share your favorite episodes with friends and make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the Hitstreak on all digital platforms. Thanks again, and we look forward to more. Folks, check it out. We're hanging out with MJ Garrett. Check him out on Instagram at MJGarrett24. Also, AustermillerRoofing.com. That's the URL you can hang out with, right? So, dude, I want to tell some cool stories as well. So, first of all, let's just start with your daughters, because I know that's the most important thing to you in life, right? So, I got 2 kids, 14-year-old boy and a 3-year-old daughter. So, I'm studying what you're doing, because you got two teenage daughters, 17 and 14, right?
Oh, yes, sir. In the thick of it now.
You've still got all your hair. And it's all the same color, right? So they must be good kids.
They're wonderful kids. But it's just different in today's age, you know. It's a lot different than it was back whenever we were their age. And I think part of being a parent is trying to, number one, stay on top of things, understanding social media, understanding what they're looking at, understanding just the media that they're getting. Yeah. And I'm not saying to always be accepting of it, but to know how to navigate it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But yeah, my daughters are both athletic as all get out. Our oldest is more of she's very artsy. She wants to be a singer-songwriter. And then our youngest, 14-year-old, she is a track star and is actually going to be going to Innsworth next year.
That's awesome.
To hopefully be doing the pentathlon and some other things. So very, very proud of them. Very proud to be a father. But there's not a playbook for it. We're all still trying to figure it out, you know?
That's right. I know that when my son was born, at that time, she wasn't my wife yet, but was picked up from my mother and was raising me now. And then we had this little boy come along, and now she was raising 2 dudes. Yeah. So, but that I think outside of Jesus Christ, the greatest gift God can give you is a child, man. Right. And that's, it changed my life in a way. It gave me some perspective and accountability.
Oh, without a doubt. And I couldn't agree with you more on that, Nick. That is, having our daughters is what really got me truly focused, because before that, and like most folks, it was all about me. Mm-hmm. And now every decision that I make has to do with them and their futures. And it just changes you, man. But like I said, there is no playbook for it. Like, we're all out there trying to figure it out. I remember being a kid and looking at my parents thinking, man, they got it figured out. Mm-hmm. And then now I'm 44 years old going, I don't got it figured out.
No, and they really didn't either, I don't think.
No, not a bit. And I talk about it with them all the time. But again, very fortunate to have some great daughters, and it's going to be exciting to see where they go with their lives.
Well, let's take it for the Vanderbilt fans out there.
Anchor down.
Well, let's talk about when you were there, because you were there in the Cutler era.
I was.
Right, and he's here a lot in Nashville. Mm-hmm. We see him around town all the time. He's an awesome dude. Let's talk about 3 years as a Vanderbilt Commodore.
Yeah, man. So one of the coolest things about going to Vanderbilt is being a local guy. Okay, so the year that I came in was when Woody Woodenhofer was still there, total players coach, and he had this initiative my freshman year to bring in 5 or 6 guys from Nashville to try to get that fan base up and excited about it.
Smart.
So, I went to a really small high school here in town called DCA, graduated with like 61 people. Wasn't highly recruited, had some other, not SEC, well, yeah, Kentucky was, but had some other Division I colleges looking at me, but there was not a better fit for me than Nashville. Plus, I didn't want to be away from home.
That's right.
Too much. I could live in downtown and then go home on a Sunday and recoup at the house. But no, Woody Woodenhofer was a heck of a coach to play for. Everybody kind of knows the big stories about Woody. The one that I like to tell is that he would be out after the games before we even were with prettier girls than us. and then you go from that to had a coaching change my senior year whenever Coach Bobby Johnson came in, and he was the exact opposite. Okay, we no longer could say cuss words. So he wanted us to say horse feathers and goofy other words that I'd never even heard of. If not, you were down doing burpees or you were sprinting after practice.
Okay,
but it taught us accountability, and
Sure.
it taught me discipline. It was goofy at times, and it was hard to get, accept, but it was pretty cool. To Cutler, man, I think I was telling you about this earlier. He was just skinny, sleepy-eyed kid from Indiana. I actually hosted him on his official visit. And
Okay.
I'll never forget going up to Woody and being like who, what? Best athletes you've ever seen come out of high school? Do they even play football in Indiana? And he was like, yeah, and he's real good, and he's good at basketball too. So I took good care of him that night, and thank goodness we landed him. But I will never forget, Nick, the first time everybody kept talking, because freshmen come in to camp before upperclassmen, and we kept hearing these stories about Cutler's arm. They're saying, man, we've never seen somebody throw a 15-yard out like this dude. I'm thinking, okay, he's just got a little hype coming in. Well, we finally show up a few days after they had been in camp, and I wanted a piece of this. I wanted to see how hard Cutler could really throw, so I'm lined up across from him. Nick, I kid you not. We're just warming up, baby. Like, my hands are not even loose yet. And he lets one go so hard that it dislocates this ring finger right here, and the football almost gets stuck in my face mask. True story. It got on me so fast, and that's when I was like, okay, I got it. And the rest is history. So
That's right.
caught a lot of those passes from him. Cutler, if you're listening, I'm still trying to get some of that money you made in the pros, Bubba. Help you get there.
That's right. That's right. Well, he seems like a pretty good dude.
Yeah, he's misunderstood, I think, a lot. Just kind of the way that he, cut his eyes in a press conference at folks instead of turning his head. But he's a very good guy. He's just not going to change for anybody out there.
Well, we're all misunderstood to a certain degree,
Yeah.
to a certain degree.
I was on reality television, man. Come on. Everybody
That's right.
had a different perception of me.
That's right. Well, dude, when you were there, you were all SEC academic team, man. So you said you made good grades. There's the proof right there.
Yeah, it was one of those. I actually did better in college than I did in high school. And,
Okay.
For anybody that's listening out there, like, it doesn't matter the environment that you're in. It's what you make of that environment, and trying to find the support that you need, people that can add value to you, people that you can listen to. And that's what they truly did at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Graduated there with like a 3.4. And in high school, I was barely scraping by to get into Vanderbilt. So you just learn how to step up, adapt, overcome.
I love it. So we're getting into the world of TV now, right?
Yeah.
So you get on the real world, and that opened up a lot of, but literally, like, folks, you were just in the last couple of years, you were on MTV's The Challenge, right?
Yeah, it's wild how it happened. So, the first show that I filmed was when I was 24. I actually turned 24 on the show. It was the year after I graduated. And like I said, had moved out to California just to get away from Nashville.
And there was no preparation for what was coming.
No, I mean, I had seen the show, but it wasn't something that I was truly pursuing. It was just, everybody knew about it. You had Survivor, you had Big Brother, and you had The Real World. That was really it back in the day. And I ended up getting casted for the show. Never even went to an audition. It was just something where they came to me because of that night in the bar.
Yep.
And what I found is that, at least back in the day, most of the people that are on the show, I'd say 50% of them had that same experience.
Okay.
So they are looking for people in their natural habitat, not sitting there at an audition trying to act a certain way and say something that they think a producer wants to hear or a casting director wants to hear. They want to see you. Got casted on it, filmed it for 4 months, thought I'd come back and me and the buddies would laugh about it. And the next thing you know, I'm getting calls from all these booking agencies and speaking bureaus wanting me to go out and talk to the youth of America. I'm like, okay, how much does it pay? I'll do it. And I just kind of learned my way through that and ended up being really good at it. I went out and I spoke on diversity. Spoke to a lot of college freshmen coming out of there. That's the first time you really get outside of your comfort zone and you're living and interacting with people that might be nothing like you.
Right.
That's exactly what I went through on the show. I had nowhere else to go, so you had to try to figure out how to make it work. And maybe it doesn't work, but at least you have that experience going through it. So yeah, I did that. Filmed a few more shows with MTV, 2 or 3 of the challenges in my 20s, retired from it. And like you said, Nick, I'm here raising a family, have a great career going. And next thing you know, they call me up whenever I'm 41 years old and say, hey, MJ, you still got it in you? So turned them down the first season it's called Challenge All-Stars. And it's a show where they brought back a lot of what they consider OGs to come back and compete against one another.
All the fan favorites.
The fan favorites, the people that have won in the past, because I had won one of the shows in my 20s. And so I decided to do season 2 of All-Stars. And you can catch it on Paramount Plus is what it streams on. Yeah, but I'm going to be spoil the tea right here. But that first show that I came back to, ended up taking home the big W, baby.
Let's go.
So, yeah, man. So it really rejuvenated me, and kind of to be in your 40s and competing is really, really cool. But more than anything, my daughters got to see me do it.
Let's go.
Because they had heard about Dad being athletic back in the day. They had heard about Dad being on TV back in the day, but they had never seen it real time. So there was no way I was going to go back in that house not winning this thing.
That's right.
So it was pretty cool. Then did another show for them, Challenge All-Stars 3. Actually tore my ACL before I went to – I know. I never had an injury playing all the football that I did and all the other sports. And then just when you're 40, your body knows you're 40.
Oh, yeah. Your mind don't.
Yeah.
But your body does.
Yeah.
And it reminds you often.
But it's literally went and competed with the torn ACL. That's a whole nother story in itself. But
all right. So so there was some, when you're on that first season, there was some wild stuff happening.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this is a totally different world that we lived in. The internet was around, but it wasn't.
No.
And there definitely wasn't social media or anything like that. I don't even think Tom had come up with MySpace yet.
No.
So
I followed Tom.
Have you let have your daughters gone back and watched that first season yet?
Not that I know of, but I do know, and I hope everybody listens to this except them, but I do know that on Paramount Plus, they have literally just put the Real World 15 on there. So I've actually gone back and started watching a little bit of it. And man, I wasn't one of those guys that regrets anything that I did on the show. I was me. I mean, I was young. I was oblivious to a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Our world was a lot different back then. Yeah. Whenever it came to race, when it came to being gay, when it came to just the way that we all kind of talk to one another.
Oh, yeah.
But that experience again really hit home with me, and it changed me as a human being. Yeah, but some of it's kind of tough to watch. It truly is. Yeah. Well, when I think about some of the stuff that I did when I was on the road and everything else, thank God it wasn't on camera, because I used to. It took me 10 years to transition from baseball player to whatever came next. But I think part of the reason is because it was weird. You're going through these things, and you're becoming a person that you realize real time is not who you were. But you're like, I don't know. It was the weirdest. I was like, well, that's not me, but I kept on going. And then it turned into well, that's who I became, So it was the weirdest thing, who I was as a child, and even as a teenager and a young adult. Once I moved on and was traveling, playing, and everything else, and I let the circumstances kind of guide me versus my morals. Yeah. It took me a long time to be comfortable to really talk. I kind of hid from it for a long time. Mm-hmm. The skeletons in the closet, until I realized those are what made me who I am today. Well, and you learn from all of these things, and you can help other people that might be going through that same experience right now. And I think that that's something that I know changed inside of me. You were talking about not wanting to be open about maybe some of your weaknesses or mistakes, but man, no pun intended, but people like real people. Mm-hmm. People gravitate towards real people and authentic. Yeah. And not this social media authentic that we think that our kids are thinking that they're seeing with social media, but people that really do care and that really are wanting to help people. And I love that you do that on this show. And that's why I like doing these shows, is to come and get as vulnerable as I possibly can. So the Hitstreak is powered by our partners at HitLab Creative Studios. Whether it's launching your brand new podcast,
rebranding your current podcast, or taking advantage of any of their other content packages specifically for your social media needs, the Hit Lab is a one-stop shop for you. Visit hitlabstudio.com for more. Well, there's two quotes that I love to reference here all the time, especially in stuff like this. And one is by Rory Vaden, and he says, you're most uniquely qualified and powerfully positioned to serve the person who you used to be. Right, which I really like a lot, because that makes it really makes a lot of sense and gives you a purpose. And then the other thing is I heard her say, a lady named Brooke, and she said, a person makes an impact when they apply their God-given gifts into the marketplace. That's when they make their impact. And like, I want to kind of, as you transition in how you've leveraged TV into what you're doing today, and it's still ongoing. There's still merging worlds. Mm-hmm. How you've been able to do that. There's so many folks out there that struggle with being husband and father at home, and maybe executive at work the next day or whatever else. How have you been able to leverage both things into elevating all the aspects that are you?
Is to try to diversify myself as much as I can and not be too focused on one thing. Now, for me, being a father is always going to be the most important thing. And so business and everything that I do kind of supports that. But man, that's a big question right there. What do you do to...
I focus on it and I work on it. It's intentional. Yeah. So the little things are the big things. A buddy of mine told me one time, he said, life's fair. Everybody's price is just different. And I thought, dang, I love that. Like, that's powerful. So, because we all come from different places. We all come from different circumstances. The past is not a life sentence, right? You know what I mean? So you can use it as a tool if you want to. But like, again, a man's life is what his thoughts make of it. So for me, I feel like, it's, we have, as a man of faith, we have choice, but I feel like everything is coming at you for reasons, So for me, to be the best father at home, I have goals. I have a purpose. At work, I have goals and I have a purpose. Yeah. And for me, it comes down to the time. Okay, so I'm bad, and I try to do my best about it. Sometimes when I'm at home, it's dad time, but I'll take that work call. And now all of a sudden, I'm being half-assed at both. Yeah. Versus like being totally intentional about it. So it doesn't always work that way. There's always some bleed over. But when you can make, like, again, I can remember being a kid and waiting on dad to get home, and time was just, it moved slower as a child. The month of December leading up to Christmas took an eternity. And now you just blink and it's over, So I can remember 3:30 I'd get home from school and dad would get home 5:30 or 6 or whatever. And that 3 hours was an eternity. And then if he got home and then he had to take a call when he got there, it was like the biggest disappointment ever. So like, I think about that when my son's waiting on me to get off a phone to go play catch, go hit some batting practice, whatever it is, or my daughter that just don't understand any of that. So again, it's just, you're way more present as a child than you realize, and just, remember that.
Yeah. And I can attest to that just from the experience I had last night. So we're in our busy season right now on the roofing side of things.
No doubt.
But my youngest daughter, Liv, that I was telling you about, the little track star, she's in one of the most important races that she had all season was last night. And it was out about as far away from Austermiller's office in Mount Juliet out in Charlotte, Tennessee. And yesterday was crazy. I thought I had everything coming in that you can possibly think of, but it was being able to shut that off, say, you know what, this can wait. These That's issues right. can wait. I can get to this tomorrow. I got to get my butt out to Charlotte. And then ended up watching her run track until 10 p.m., stayed the whole time, didn't get on the phone, was totally engaged. So I totally get what you're talking about. And after it was over, I might even get emotional. She had some of her best times last night, and it was raining, it was cold, and she looked at me and said, "Dad, thank you for being here."
Oh, man.
Dude, it's moments like that, but you know that you're doing something right. So
the only time I ever get I get frustrated a lot, but the only time I get like frustrated with people is when they take away from that time at home, because that's why I work, right? So going back to why I do it, it's the time, but it's those priorities, right? And mine is faith and family first, right? As a matter of fact, it's faith, family, fitness, and finance. I got to have a certain level of mental capacity to be present and be healthy. I can't serve them if I'm not healthy. I can't help people get off the airplane if I'm passed out on the floor because I didn't put an oxygen mask on myself first. So you got to have a certain level of health to be able to serve everybody else. So the only time I get upset with people, like physically upset, is when I feel like they're robbing me of my time at home. So it's prioritization.
Yeah.
And you know, my son played at Vanderbilt for the first time. He's in 8th grade and he got to play on the varsity team, and they played at Vandy. And literally, and I regret this to this day. So we had something going on where it was a last minute thing where he was going to play there. And I already had stuff on the books at work, and I'm busting it to get out there. I'm fighting through traffic and everything else. And I roll up literally like he had just gone in, and the very first pitch they hit a ball to him that he went and made a really nice play and caught. And I was parking, and I missed it. Thank God somebody videotaped it, but I missed it. And I still hold a grudge to the person that made me late that day today.
Well, I'll tell you this is kind of not the same experience as that, but at least I will say this about Austermiller and the culture that has been created there by our owner, Penny Austermiller, is family always does come first. And that is why we have a culture unlike, I think, would rival any company out there. Mm-hmm. Because if you got to go do something, go do it. Now, you need to be taking care of your stuff while you're here, but plan ahead for it.
That's right.
And then because we also don't want people to be out there feeling like they're going to be in trouble while they're at a track meet or while they're at a baseball game. So just what people need to think about in business. Like you're going to get the most out of your employees if they know that you care about them and that you're truly invested in them.
And everything that you're going through right now is temporary. Mm-hmm. Nothing's permanent. You can change it.
Yeah. Anytime
you want, you can change it. So let's get into the world of roofing, right? And I want to start with like just sales. So you've mentioned a lot of the gold nuggets. I want to make sure everybody takes home with them, right? Getting past the gatekeeper. Every great company, every great person's got gatekeepers, multiple ones. I have 3 or 4 you got to get through to get to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and the reason is because you're protecting people's time. That's what the gatekeepers are actually there to do, is protect these people's time, because like the person that needs your help don't get it if you're spending time with somebody that don't.
So Nick, you are hitting it on the head right now. So to kind of fall in line with what you're saying, I got to tell you a little bit about who we are as a company. So we're pretty unique. Whenever you're in the roofing industry or roofing business, normally you're either a new construction business where you're partnered with builders and building custom homes, tract homes, and putting roofs on them, or you're what's called retail or storm type company where you have door knockers, or you're doing tons of marketing to try to have people who just need re-roofs to call you, or you're a commercial company. So you're doing these big high rises that you see, or buildings like this that we're in right now. What's unique about us is that we're all 3 of those. Okay. So whenever it comes to sales for us, there's a lot of different things and sales techniques and ways that we're getting business that we have to do. But there's one thing that we focus on, and this is what I'm coming back to with you. From all of the different sales that are going on, the ways we're trying to get business, what we're doing, and I truly think it is changing the industry, is there's a lot of people that can put a roof on. But what's the experience like going through that?
The customer experience, baby.
And consumers now, they want to be truly catered to. It's not even really about what the product is. There's tons of products. There's tons of roofing companies. There's, tons of people can put your roof on. But what are you going to do to add value to them, to take that worry off of them, to take that experience of having to deal with their insurance company? You got other things to do as a consumer. Let me take that off of you, and I'm going to give you a great product and one of the best roofs that you can possibly get. So, earlier when I was talking about trying to change this industry, I don't want just Austermiller to do that. I'm wanting all of the other roofing companies out there too. I don't even consider them our competitors, but the more that people focus on that consumer, the better we're going to be in that experience. That's why this industry can have a negative vibe that comes out of it. It's just like, let's get in, let's get out. Ugh, but we're getting there.
There you go. Well, so let's do some myth busting right here, right? So what are some of the most common myths that are not true that you constantly have to overcome or whatever it may be?
Yeah. So every time a storm comes through Nashville, or you hear about high winds, or you hear about a hailstorm that's in your neighborhood, just because your neighbor might have roof-related damage doesn't necessarily mean that you have it.
Right.
And there's a lot of companies that'll come and knock on your door and show you all these weather maps, and they'll want to have the opportunity to get up on your roof. And really, there's not enough damage up there to warrant filing an insurance claim. Okay. And people feel pressured into doing that. A lot of people will file these claims and then get rejected by their insurance company. And they're the ones that are stuck with that strike on them. Okay. While that roofer, the roofing salesman, was just trying to throw something against the wall to see if it'll stick.
Yeah.
And it may not. That is one of the number one things that people kind of get, I don't want to say get conned with, but get put in awkward positions.
Okay.
Okay. Gosh, what are some of the other negative connotations?
Do they, like, you know, it's funny, some of the most important things that you buy in life, like, for instance, we used to deal with this in the world of health insurance all the time. And it was people shopped the exact same way I did when before I got into it, which was the cheapest one you got.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody ever said, Nick, when is that ever how you've shopped and that worked out for you? You know what I mean? And when I made that decision the first time, and then I had an appendix rupture, you know, and then my coverage was the cheapest that I could find, so it wasn't very good. You know, well, that, you know, I think that procedure set me back like 18-20 grand, and if my grandfather at the time hadn't bailed me out, I don't know if I would have financially recovered.
Right. And it's the same with our industry. So if you go out and let's say you get 3 estimates on a roof, a lot of time, most customers will always come back and say, well, hold on, somebody was about $5,000 cheaper than you. And I'm thinking, how's that even possible? So one of the things that happens is somebody will throw out a really low bid. And then once they get into the project, it'll be like, oh, well, you know what? We ran into this. We did not foresee this. But then you have their entire roof off.
Yeah.
You as the homeowner, you got to pay.
Yeah.
So they end up paying the same as they would have if they went with that other one. And like with our company, we are definitely not the cheapest company out there. We're also not the most expensive. We're very, very fair. But kind of my motto that it still really hadn't caught on yet with our marketing folks is we can offer blue collar pricing with white collar service. Okay. Again, going back to that experience. So.
You know, it's funny. The places that charge the most are usually the most consistent and the busiest. You know, Mercedes selling a lot of cars. The place that has the $150 steak, I guarantee that it'll be a full house tonight.
And Nick, they're selling off experience, man. It's whenever you go in to buy a Mercedes, they're not all up on you. They're wanting you to go. They know exactly when to come up and to cater to you. They're asking you the questions on what you want. As compared to maybe, I don't want to say any other car manufacturers, but you go other places and it's just high pressure. Yeah. It gets you in, getting out, like wanting to negotiate with you. So. I
have a CPA that we absolutely love, and I don't know everything that she does or why. I just know the end result, and I trust it, and I love the result, right? So as a matter of fact, I don't want to know the ins and outs of what she does, and that's why I have her. And we tell, and we figure that out in the world of insurance. You know, you don't need to know exactly how it works. We couldn't. How do you even market something as gray and boring as health insurance? So all we did is, and we absolutely crushed it. And we're some of the biggest in the game at the time across the country. We marketed one message and one message only. Another win for the customer, who's next, and everything revolved around the customer experience. Because again, there was compliance we were dealing with. There's HIPAA. It was a very regulated industry. And it was really hard to market and create separation to stand out from everybody else until we just said, you know, the most common, we just read our reviews and everybody just said they just made it work. They just, you know, that was a great experience. We got what we needed. We, you know, and it's a good product. So the customer experience is everything. And find me a company that has provides a great customer experience and the company's struggling. I'm sure there's some business owners that hadn't figured out the money yet, but they wouldn't be considered a great company yet if that's the case.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also I've just got to plug this too, because it's taking me back listening to that to what we're doing on the new construction side. So we're partnered with, like I said, a lot of builders. We do a ton of custom homes out in Williamson County, and then out in Gallatin, Hendersonville, but we also do a lot of tract homes as well, okay, for some of the biggest builders in the United States.
So tract homes, explain to, like, that's been a term that I don't think a lot of people understand. And
without trying to talk about, it's more of your cookie cutter type homes. So ones where you're in a neighborhood and every house kind of looks the exact same, and it doesn't have that many custom things on there, like maybe a standing seam eyebrow or standing seam metal at all, or maybe it doesn't have as many dormers. There's just not quite as much to the home, which is nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's all different types of houses out there. But the one thing that we have found with all of the builders that we're partnered with, okay, we've done over 35,000 roofs in the past 25 years. So we've done a lot of roofs, okay?
It's incredible.
And we have figured out how we add value to these builders on that side is we have a register your roof program with the homeowners. So because really when you're building a new home, the builder is the person that is the homeowner is having to contact for everything. Normally they don't have any relationship with the roofer. So let's say there is an issue with the roof. That homeowner is having to call the builder, who then in turn is having to call us. That's putting more issues and time on that builder if they're having to deal with stuff other than focusing on other things. So now we have this program called Register the Roof, to where as soon as the homeowner buys the home, they register it with us. And if there's any issues that they have whatsoever, they come directly through us. But it also has given us the opportunity to go out there and monitor their roof and inspect their roof every year. So if there are any issues that are going on, we can help them with those. So it's just little stuff like that. Not only is it helping the homeowner, but it's helping that builder too, the person that gave us that opportunity to put that roof on.
So that's a big deal, eliminating the middleman, which, I found zero problems in the history of mankind where they look back and like they communicated too good, and that's why it caused that problem.
Well, and that's the other weakness in our industry. A lot of times you'll hear from a roof salesman and then they never follow up with you again, and it can be an issue. So with my sales guys, it is all about the follow-up. It's all about positive communication, not pushy communication, but just checking in with them. What can I do for you today?
The Hitstreak is powered by Team Hyder. Team Hyder has been serving you for 11 years and has racked up over 20 national and local awards for excellence in all areas. When it comes to finding the right health plan, we need to consider your family's needs and your family's budget. That's what we do to serve you. To look further and to book an appointment, visit teamhyder.com. As we get into the final stages of this episode right here, MJ, I want to make sure that like we get everything, all the gold out of you that we need to bring today, right? So I'm gonna ask for a little bit of help here, right? Is there any, like, what direction? And I don't normally do this, but like, what direction can we do, like the gap between sales and operations? I know that's huge for you. Like, just let's give them some real big business nuggets, something that like, like they can literally go back and stream all the entertainment stuff. Let's give them the business side today.
Man, I don't care what industry you're in. There is always some type of I dare say animosity, but friction between sales and operation. The sales guys are selling it and they're wanting operations to get it done tomorrow.
Yeah.
On the operations side in our industry, the sales guys are selling, but maybe they're not getting them all the information that they need to have to be successful in the field. And that's one of the first things that we had to fix in our industry. And I think in any industry is both sides having a healthy respect for one another and both sides understanding what each other do. That's why with our salesmen, I don't want them to just know how to sell a roof. I want them to know how a roof actually is installed and what goes into having to put this roof on. And the more you know about that, number one, it makes you a better salesman. But number two, it just gives you so much more respect for the operation side.
Absolutely.
And it goes, again, it's with any industry out there. There's going to be strife between it. And a lot of that does come down to company culture. One of the things that we do is once a quarter, we have right now about 50 employees in our company. We bring everybody together once a quarter and we'll go out. We may play top golf. We may go bowling. We may do paintball, but we're very intentional during those outings that not all the sales guys are just hanging out together. Not all the supervisors are just hanging out together. Not all the repair guys. We orchestrate it to where you get outside of your comfort zone, like we're talking about.
That's
Another
right.
thing kind of pulled from the real world experience. And people get to know each other. And you try to create that family environment. And I'm not just saying that either, Nick. Like a lot of people talk about doing that with a business, but you got to do it, man. Everybody needs to understand what everybody's doing.
It's at the end of the day, we would all agree, like, I see people that I work with more than I see my own family. You know what I mean? That's kind of a normal thing for a long time.
It is.
And so, you want to have great relationships with that. Plus, from a sales perspective, I understand if you have doubt in somebody that is like if you're a waiter and you have doubt that the food's not going to be prepped right, and then you feel the confidence in if anything that we do, if I feel like, man, the team's going to drop the ball on this, there's some confidence that I lack when I'm trying to close that deal versus like, dude, it's going to be a great experience and I know that. So like seriously, there has to be the most important people in your life are the people that get the operations done on whatever it is that you sold.
Well, and to kind of go with that, so what I mainly talked about was the understanding of each side and the emotional aspect of that, but it's also all about process and procedures too. All right, if you don't have the right processes and procedures and then make sure that you've implemented those and everybody's following those, I mean, you can talk about process. That's the hot thing. Everybody loves talking about them, but how do you truly implement that and have everybody on board? And that's what has made a big difference within our company too, with sales guys as well as on the supervision side and the operations side. Everybody has expectations on them, and they've got to meet those expectations.
That's right.
And if you follow those processes, then we're going to be successful the entire way through the project.
Talk to me a little bit about, we talk a lot about standards, and at the end of the day, your standard is what you tolerate. So when it comes to business, if you consider yourself top of the level standard for the customer experience, right, that means you can't tolerate a lot of anything less, right? So talk to me about how you've been able to bridge the gap between you and your salespeople and then the operations as well.
Yeah, so I really have to go back to kind of our status with a company called GAF. GAF is one of the top shingle manufacturers in the world, okay? And we have made it to the very highest level as a GAF installer that you can be. We're in the President's Club. Well, being in the President's Club, they hold you to a standard unlike anybody else because you are literally the top 1%.
Is it one strike and you're out, kind of?
Yes. So if that roof is not installed the way that it's supposed to be, or if you didn't use the right materials the way that you were supposed to be, then you can get knocked out of that elite club very, very fast. And I'm not just saying that that's the reason we do things the right way, but it sure as heck puts a big spotlight on us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But just the fact that we were able to achieve that level is pretty cool. Not to mention the fact that we're the first ever female-owned company to be a part of the GAF President's Club.
Let's go.
Yeah, man. And hey, in the entire universe is the way I like to put it.
Let's go.
So we take a lot of pride in that as well. But no, it's just standards that we hold all of our supervisors up to. I mean, we do so many roofs every week that we have to be on top of our game. We're not the company that's just going to throw some roofers out there and walk away from it.
Right.
Like we're checks and balances and quality control. So, but you got to do it. You can't just talk about it.
How did you find like your sweet spot? So for being an athlete, being surrounded by great coaches who I can't tell how many times in the workplace when I wanted to look at the team, be like, guys, we're going to run laps because you suck today. You can't do that in the workplace, but you can on the ball field, So for me, that was one of the hardest things that I had to learn is sports is sports and everything else is different. And I had to figure out how to take the same message, opportunity and execution and find a new way to communicate that to people. Because at the end of the day, it's about getting the job done for the customer, right? Not necessarily how you did it.
It is. And I'm going to kind of frame this in the way that I treat our sales reps, because being an ex-athlete, you'll know this. Not every single athlete on your team, maybe even that they play the same position of you, can be coached the same exact way.
That's right.
Okay, we all respond differently. We all learn differently. We're all motivated by different things. Yeah, we all have a common goal if it's in sports or in business, but what's going to get us to that end goal together? And that's the way that you train them. That's the way you communicate with them. That's the way that you're available to them every day. Some people need to be micromanaged.
Yeah.
Other people, the more they are micromanaged, the more that they digress and they go the other way. So for folks listening out there, you've got to really put time into knowing who your employees are and how to get them to reach their goals. With every new employee that we have, we do something called a DISC assessment. So we know if they're a driver, or we know if they are the one that I'm going to forget it right now. I'm the influencer as part of that. And then you have the other one, that's the contemplator, and then you have so on and so forth. But with that, it tells us exactly what the strengths and weaknesses are of these different personality types. So we're going to know if you're struggling right here, this is how I need to approach it.
That's right.
All right. Or maybe here's a great example, and maybe we can end on this because this is the best one I got.
Let's go.
I have a sales guy that I was so close to getting rid of. Okay. I didn't understand some of his thought processes. He would get down on himself. Just a lot of stuff was going on, and he wasn't producing. And I kind of had to take a step back, breathe. I went back and read his DISC assessment again, and guess what? It was the exact same as mine. I'm an IC. Okay. So, and then it just hit me. I was like, well, number one, maybe that's why I'm struggling with this guy a little bit. But number two, I know what motivates me and what ticks me. So how do I do that for him? And now he's absolutely crushing it, man. So you just got to step back a lot of time and really dig deep to try to bring the most out of folks.
You're dealing with people.
Yes, that's all it is, man.
How well do you know your people?
That's right.
I love that.
Money will come, business will come, but it's that experience and the happiness of your people and the culture that you create around them.
Well, it sounds like you've made a culture of, and this is extremely important because everybody there's got goals and they're there to provide for them and their families, right? But they got it's kind of like you get paid in Major League Baseball as an individual, but like you can only win and lose as a team. Yeah. All the goals are for the team, even though you're incentivized individually. So it's kind of like that in the workplace when you can create a culture where when you provide the best experience for the customer, and you're helping the company achieve its goals, and that's how you hit your goals, that's usually the best culture that there is. And it sounds like you guys have that dialed in real nice.
Yeah, hit that button again right there. You need to hit that for you.
Well, that's a beautiful thing, man. Like, so, I mean, dude, the last 25 years have been a whirlwind. And if I was a betting man, I would say the next 10, there's a new chapter. Is there anything that you can leak? Like, what's next for OMJ?
Yeah, so we have some, just on as far as a business front at Austermiller, I kind of alluded to it earlier. We just partnered with the Nashville Predators, okay, which is obviously great for marketing. You have their logo and everything, but more than anything, what we're trying to get out of that is the community aspect of that and the community service that we're going to be providing for that. So people will see with our marketing, it has nothing to do with, hey, we're the best roofer in Nashville, Tennessee. It's all going to be about being out in the community and being able to kind of leverage this relationship with them. Now, there is a business side to it as well. I'm really wanting to grow our commercial side of the business. Right now, we have a lot of business coming in, but just Nashville is booming right now, especially on the commercial side. So that partnership is really going to help me get introduced to all of those other buildings around. So that's exciting. We are looking to take this company to the next level. We're looking to be a $50 million company by, we're saying in the next 5 years. A little lofty, but last year was our best. We did right at 30 million. So
dang, congratulations.
Thank you, man. So I've definitely been tasked with taking us to the next level. But to say too much business can sink you more than not having enough business. So you have to kind of take it one step at a time and have all those processes and procedures to grow that much, that fast.
One, I'm going to throw this out there. You need a podcast, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I can't tell you, I could go on for days about how this is by far the strongest tool in my tool belt and all the things that it's literally changed my life. And who would have thought when we did it back in the day? But like outside of that, I would say that there's a lot of companies that you could help from speaking on a stage. And I would say that's something that I know you've done that, but like, probably back then it probably wasn't as much about the business stuff that you could talk about now and totally hold your own and absolutely dominate and help a lot of people. I appreciate that, Nick. I really do. I got a lot of respect for you and what you do on this. So that's why I've been so excited to get here. Well, it's so crazy because like, I don't remember a lot of things until something like reminds me of it. And then I can picture it and see everything else, and like when I first saw you today for the first time in a very long time, and I was doing some research over the weekend before we came in. All these, like, I remember a lot more that night that I first met you than I remember. But thank God we grew up.
That's right, my friend.
Because we would have burned the world down. I think.
Could you imagine if Nashville would have been back then what it is now?
No.
That's what I tell folks all the time. I could not imagine being a college student at Vanderbilt now, because back in the day you had 7 or 8 different bars to go to.
Yeah.
I mean, there may have been a few more, but those were the ones that you went to. But I don't know, man. It's just, I love this town. I've been here my entire life. I'm not going anywhere else. And it's been so neat to have the experiences that I've had, and I don't take them for granted. So right. I'm trying to, again, add value, give back through whatever it is, through if it's the stuff I do still through reality television shows and doing appearances here in Nashville, or if it is through business and getting out in the community and ultimately putting on great roofs for folks. So.
Well, man, like, I don't know what it is, but I want to do something together.
Let's do it, man.
We got to do something together. You help us out, Chris? We got to figure something out to do together. I'm in. Whatever it is, I'm in. The Hitstreak is powered by Rack Financial. When it comes to your credit card merchant processing, Rack Financial is efficient, reliable, and trusted. At the end of the day, when it comes to processing your credit card payments, they make it simple, the way it's supposed to be. Check out Rack Financial. Well, folks, we're hanging out with MJ Garrett, reality TV personality for 20 years. It's still unbelievable to say that. He's the sales and marketing director at the Austermiller Roofing Incorporated, and former great Vanderbilt Commodore, right? So, dude, any final closing thoughts as we bring this sucker to a close today?
Man, just do good, do right is the biggest thing, and focus on adding value and experience. And it's not just in business, but also in life. Do good, be good. And for anybody that may want to reach out to say, you know, I'd like to work for old MJ, or I need a roof. I'm hiring right now. Seriously, in order for us to get to those goals I was telling you about, I'm going to need some more great sales guys. So they can email me directly at mj@austermillerroofing.com, or you can just find us online and give us a shout. Yeah, they could send you a DM on old Instagram if they needed to, right? You send it directly to me. I believe you gave them my handle earlier, or just go straight through Austermiller Instagram page, Facebook page. That's right. So, folks, on Instagram, he's at MJGarrett24, and it ain't hard to find people these days. It ain't hard to find people these days. But so for those that are saying, I might want to do that, maybe I'm the right person, maybe I'm not. Any advice for those to make them take that leap to reach out? Be yourself, because at the end of the day, I can look at tons of resumes. Everybody looks great on a resume. Okay, you're going to put everything you possibly can, but it's going to be that initial conversation that we have. And I like people being honest and direct and tell me what your goals are, man, and I'll help you get there. Because that's one of the things that I'm really focusing on is you can come from any walk of life in sales, or maybe you don't even have roofing or any type of sales. I can get you to where you need to be. I just have to have people that are committed and want to make some money. Well, I got to say, too, in the world of, you hear a lot about the personal brand these days. I'd say you're the perfect example of how to leverage your personal brand into turning something into an opportunity for other great people, right? So that's freaking awesome, man. Thank you. I appreciate that, Nick. Absolutely. Well, dude, thanks so much for the hang today, brother. This has been a blast. Without a doubt. You're so professional. You're cool. And we got to hang out outside of this, my friend. No doubt. We got to. Got to. Well, folks, we've been hanging out with MJ Garrett. You know him on MTV's The Real World and The Challenge, right? And he's the sales marketing director at Austermiller Roofing Incorporated. Folks, they're on the way to $50 million, and your house is going to help get them there, right? So give them a call. Give them a call. MJ, again, thanks so much. This was freaking awesome. Thank you so much for lining this up, Kristen. Appreciate you and love you. You know what I'm saying? Well, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of The Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.